Welcome back to another reading and correcting with me, Kindar, the Tiger Writes, and Ty, the Tiger Supervisor. If you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch. And today we are doing A Familiar Death, Chapter 13. Marlot stared at the screen, shifting from page to page. He'd been doing that for an hour now. He'd probably cycled through a handful of time at this point. He'd probably cycled through a handful of time by now. Yeah, that works. There had to be something in the list of names, as well as a string of numbers that explained how this worked. It was Niego's patient file, so he had to have been able to use them. Have you made any sense of them? He asked his lion. Trevor shook his head. No more than an hour ago. Are you sure it's a filing system? It has to be. I recognize most of the names, so the whole town is in here, and the numbers never repeat. Maybe the numbers are code for what his patients had. If they are, Jaxa isn't familiar with them. That was my first thought, so I sent him a few. Trevor looked up from his pad. It's chronic with this town, isn't it? Everyone needs to do things differently from the rest of the world. Marlot nodded. Isolation does tend to lead to a different way of thinking. How does he sync his patient's file with the central database? No idea. Marlot looked at another page. Maybe he doesn't. Come on. Every medic has to share their file. They're part of the system that calculates the productivity median. Marlot shrugged. Like you said, things get done differently here. The lion dropped his pad on the desk and rubbed his eyes. Someone has to know how it works. How about Round Point? They had to share information, right? Why would Niego share information on townspeople with one of the commune medic? I don't know. To get a second opinion? Didn't you say the ram was the best of them? Marlot nodded. But he treats prey, not predators. We're not that different. Our insides worked pretty much the same. Okay, but you saw how you're reacting to having to work on Niego, I doubt. Marlot stepped on a name. Eldir Roughcoat. I didn't know any Roughcoat. And there was only one of that name. It could be someone new. It could be someone new who had moved here recently. But a place like Great Prairies didn't welcome new people the way the city did. A female would have to mate someone here and she'd take his name. That was a tradition. Same with a male mating one of the females here. So he or she would have a family name he's familiar with. Marl? Trumbull called. Marlot went through a few pages. He found one singular family name. He didn't know here. He found one singular family name he didn't know here and there. Then he saw one he recognized, Merkin Roundpoint. You're lost in thought. Sorry, I think you're right. Urian might know the system. I think Niego consulted him on some of the farmers' problems. Copied the page to his pad and stood. Let's call him. Marlot shook his head. I'd rather do this in person. Why? It's quicker to just send this to him. It's private information. I don't want to risk someone else intercepting it. Why would anyone intercept this? There's nothing usable, not even a link to elsewhere. Why would someone kill Niego? I just want to be safe with this. Believe it or not, I'm not the only tech-savvy person in this town. This time, they found the ram at the Striptail commune. That commune was very much like the other one. Large storage building, low multicolored ones for housing, and gray and brown ones for business. Here, the medical clinic was located inside a sprawling building next to a fabric and clothing store. The waiting area had bland gray on the floor and walls. There was a dying plant in a corner. A handful of sheep, half pregnant, the other accompanied the cubs playing among themselves, sat in the center of the area. Trevor thought the oldest was 3. Something clanged on the floor, and Trevor looked at the examination area. Nothing separated it from the waiting area, not even the half wall from the other clinic. The ram was staring at them, trembling. Trembor held back a smile. Rampart was looking around, eyes wide, ears shaking. He was getting ready to bolt. This was the first time he'd seen the typical prey behavior here, and he wasn't being hunted. Relax, Urion, Marlot said. We're just here to talk. The ram hadn't expected them. Marlot had tracked his pad here. We don't need you to do anything but talk. The statement calmed the ram. The statement calmed the ram. He looked at his patient, a young sheep. Trembor thought she couldn't be more than a year or two past predation age. I need to see Talamia first. I'll only be a few minutes. What's wrong with her? Trembor asked. Just some minor pregnancy issues. Nothing anyone needs to be concerned about. She'll be fine and working again in no time. The question had made him nervous again, and Trembor remembered what happened to the prey who couldn't work here. Maybe her issues weren't as simple as the ram said. Calm down. Neither one of us works here, he said. We're not going to report delays to anyone. The ram gave a worried look, but Marlot was heading for one of the chairs in the waiting area. He sat and nodded to the sheep seated next to him before pulling his pad and starting to read. Trembor leaned against the wall by the door and watched Urian work. He had no idea what he was doing, running his hand over her stomach. He didn't even think she looked pregnant. The ram checked her eyes, muzzle, tongue. Then, when he spread her leg and looked between them, Trembor decided he needed something else to occupy his time. He sat next to Marlot, marveled again at how calm the sheep were, and pulled up the novel he was reading on his pad. A chapter later, Urian was escorting the sheep to the door. Ladies, I'll be a moment. I need to help these investigators. He motioned for Marlot and Trembor to follow him and led them to the back, to an office with desk, a computer, a small fridge. He sat behind the desk and eyed them warily. Marlot placed a data slate before him. What's on it? The ram asked, eyeing it suspiciously. Naego's records. At least, that's what I think it is. I haven't been able to figure out his filing system. That's why I need your help. That's it? You just want me to show you how it works? So you do know the system? The ram nodded. He began using it when he found out someone was stealing the data on the farmers he consulted on. Why would anyone steal medical information? To undermine the commune, Marlot said. Trevor stared at his wolf, but it was Urian that explained. If they know who's sick, they can try to interfere with their recuperation, or if they know someone has a contagious disease in their own commune, instead of isolating them, they might sneak them into another commune, try to have it spread there, lower their productivity. He inserted the data slate into the computer. Trevor looked from one to the other. How does that help anyone? Doesn't the town need everyone to be productive? Don't they have quotas to meet to feed the cities? It's a stupid pride thing, Marlot said. Every family does it, including my father. Some years it's easier to undermine another commune's productivity than make sure yours is more productive. Every year, the best commune with the best harvest is celebrated. Well, managing family is. They get a ribbon out of it. A ribbon. They sabotage each other for a ribbon? I'd say it was stupid, but I did say it was stupid. It's all about bragging rights. Over how much problem they caused others? That isn't how they see it. For a moment, Trembor didn't know what to say. This place is insane. Marlot gave his lion a sad smile. I'm not arguing with you on that. Don't people brag about anything in the cities anymore? Ram asked, tapping away. Of course they do, Trembor answered, about how they brought down the largest buck or how their productivity is higher than anyone around them. There's a whole rating system on the kiosks now. I hate that thing. Marlot grumbled. Anytime I go to pay for my kid, it harasses me to look at how I compare to other predators. Like, I care about that. All I want is to feed myself. You said any more, Tremor said. You're familiar with the city? I did my medical studies at the academy there. And you came back to this? Tremor asked in disbelief. The ram stared at him. What did you expect me to do? Settle there? I was terrified to leave the grounds for the 3 years I was there. And even on them, I was a nervous wreck. I never knew when one of the predator students might decide to eat me. They don't allow predation on the grounds, Trembor stated. Oh, sure, they say that, but do you have any idea how little self-control young predators have? If one of them ate me, what would happen? He'd be growled at, told he wasn't allowed. I'd still be dead. I couldn't wait to come back here where it's safe. Only so long as you can do your job. Regan shrugged. At least that's under my control. He handed the slate back to Marlot. Okay. The reason you couldn't access his file is because they aren't on his computer. He keeps them on a remote server. How is that safer than having them on his computer? Trembor asked. Can't anyone access them? They'd have to know the server's address. Rayon said. Only Naego and us, commune medics, know it, and we're not going to tell anyone. Marlot frowned. That still isn't that safe. Anyone can monitor your access. I'm a medic. I don't know how that stuff works, but we do have to use a special program to access the server. I added that to the slate. I didn't see any kind of network access program on this computer. We keep it on a slate, and we have to keep that on our person at all time. No, not it. Okay. Maybe now we have a reason for Naego being attacked. You think there's something on a patient that is that important? Trembor asked. Wells, excuse me, but do you still need my help? Aaron interrupted. Marlot shook his head. No, thank you, Urion. I'm happy to help. I just don't need anything from me anymore. I don't expect we will, Trembor said. Where can I get something to eat around here? We should have grabbed something before leaving. Urion smiled. Oh, if you want vegetables and foliage, they serve a great mixed green plate across the street. Rem's eagerness at offering Trembor vegetable dampened his appetite. I guess I can wait until I get back in town. The Rem's smile didn't waver as he escorted them out of the clinic. And this concludes chapter 13 of A Familiar Death. If you are enjoying this, please leave a like. If you want to know when the next chapter will be up, subscribe and hit the bell. If you want to read the rest of the story as well as the others in the series, they are available on all major e-retailer. If you want to support me, that's on my Patreon. And if you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch. The links are in the notes, and with that, I shall wish you a good day.